Monroe Doctrine. Why Russia did or didn't do, quote, with the Roosevelt Corollary, the concert of Europe. Okay. So the Monroe Doctrine says, issued in 1823, that what European countries need to leave Latin America alone. Okay? Between 1810 and 1820, virtually every country in South America, the Caribbean, Latin America freed itself from Spain, with the exception of Cuba and Puerto Rico. Okay? We did not want England coming in and establishing colonies in Venezuela and Argentina and Mexico, whatever. So we're telling them to stay out. Europe went along with this for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is the Concert of Europe. The Concert of Europe is post-Napoleonic Wars, where the big issue in Europe was balance of power. Okay, from those of you from world history term, balance of power. The idea that no one country is more powerful than the other. If we allow Britain to come in and take over a whole bunch of countries in South America, there's the fear in Germany, or it wasn't Germany yet, but okay, the fear in France or the fear in Austria that England may become too powerful. Okay? How does this go along with the Roosevelt Corollary made in the early 1900s? Roosevelt said, okay, not only does Europe stay out of Latin America, but if Latin America owes you money, you can't come in and collect it. You tell us, and we'll collect it for you. So in 1900, when Venezuela owed Britain a great deal of money, we did not want Britain coming in and taking over their custom houses and collecting taxes until they were paid back. We went in and took over their custom houses and collected the taxes for them. Russia figures in that we were concerned that Russia was going to try to establish itself more heavily in Canada. Okay? Think about where Juneau, Alaska is, right on the Canadian coast, rather than up, okay? And Russia was very heavily into that area. Where am I? Slavery was mentioned in, this is that question I mentioned yesterday, the Articles of Confederation, the Maryland Religious Toleration Act, the Monroe Doctrine, Gibbons versus Ogden, or the Northwest Ordinance. The answer is the Northwest Ordinance, or the Land Ordinance. Transportation Revolution. Okay, the next 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 things I'll go along with this. There are 2 transportation revolutions in our 1800s history. There's the antebellum one and the post-Civil War one. Okay? In the antebellum transportation revolution, the 2 major forms of transportation are canals and turnpikes, toll roads. Okay, turnpikes and toll roads are the same thing. I wrote them on the board in case you don't know how to spell them. Okay, they're the same thing because in both cases they do what? They make you pay to use the road. Okay, it's also the introduction of the railroad, but the railroad is still fairly small. Is the railroad in 1840 moving people from Baltimore to Cincinnati? No. Turnpikes will move that because you'll go by boat to New York, you'll go up the Hudson River, you'll get on the Erie Canal, you'll take it across to Buffalo, and then you'll sail the Great Lakes, and you'll go to whatever part of the cities or whatever that you need to go on. Okay? So, the other type of transportation that comes into this period of time, but it's more important later on, is steam. The second transportation revolution is post-Civil War, and it really focuses on city transportation improvements and railroads. Okay? All right. Why movement west? Because people wanted more land. We were getting more people in this country, and they didn't want to all settle in cities like the German immigrants went west to set up businesses, set up farms, that kind of thing. How did they go? They tended to go by road or by canal. The question was, one year, 2 things that helped settlement of the West from 1800 to 1832, and they grouped them together. Okay, so choice A, canals and turnpikes. Choice B, canals and railroad. Choice C, turnpikes and steam engines. Choice D, airplanes and cars. Choice E, airplanes and canals. okay? When we're talking 1800, 1832, you're talking national roads or roads, and you're talking canals. So turnpikes and canals. The national road, why was it built? To facilitate moving people and goods from Maryland over the Appalachian Mountains to what's now West Virginia, okay, or the edge of Ohio. The Maysville Road Veto, this is Jackson. Roads were part of something called internal improvements, where states and or the central government spent money building roads, building canals, doing what it could to hook parts of the country together by transportation, economically, etc. Okay? Jackson vetoed this road being built because it was going to be built from Kentucky to Tennessee, and he maintained that it only helped that one small portion of the country, and everybody's money shouldn't go to build the road. It should only go to build the road if it helped all 20 states or whatever, okay? The Erie Canal, its effect was to move goods and people very cheaply, especially from the Midwest to the east. It also made the effect that New York became the major port in America, and I think you could argue it still is the major port area in America. The American system, Henry Clay, the idea of economic interdependence in the country. So the government will charge protective tariffs. They'll charge protective tariffs for two reasons. One, so that the government gets money, okay? And two, to protect American industry. Henry Clay's proposal was with that money that they got from protective tariffs, then the government would turn around and finance internal improvements. Roads that connected various parts of the country, or canals that connected various parts of the country, okay? Economic nationalism and the American system. The American system is economic nationalism. It's the idea of making the nation as a whole greater and better by hooking it together, okay? Why was industry in the antebellum period centered in New England? Well, the biggest reason was power. How did they power textile mills in 1830? By rivers. And New England had very fast-moving rivers which turned water wheels. In the James River that you see the picture up on the wall is this big, fat, placid river. Okay, you better be able to row really well to go on the James River. It's not going to move you along very well. Okay. Eventually, starting in the 1830s, what else did New England have that the South didn't have, for instance? What else do you need in your factory besides power to run it? You need workers, and so you had lots of immigrants coming in, okay? Early 1800s, major export in the North was a textile, ships, steel, firearms, agricultural products. Textiles. Ships were dying out. Steel is a post-Civil War thing, so 1860 on. Firearms, we made them, but not as a major export. Agricultural products would come from the middle colonies, not. The Lowell system, what was it? Utopian factories. Okay, why was it utopian? Because they provided lots of light compared to factories in Europe at that time. Better ventilation, which wasn't great, but it was better than it was in Europe. It was utopian because they provided boarding houses for the workers, which brings us to the question, who were the workers? They were young single farm women who came in to earn money for their future marriages. Okay? When the Lowell system ended, who replaced the women as workers? Immigrants, especially Irish immigrants. Early trade unions, localized only, meaning that like the Lowell Factory Girls Association. Okay? They did not include textile workers in New York. They were only in Lowell, Massachusetts. They didn't even include the next town over. Okay? They didn't get a lot of support. Unions were seen as a pretty bad thing.